Hey everybody, Matt here. I'm going to be doing another pistol review, which is always my favorite. Some of you probably already know what this little pistol here is just by looking at it. If you don't know, this is the Raven Arms MP-25. Now if you haven't heard of that gun, you've probably heard of it by its other name, its nickname, which is the Saturday Night Special. Now over the last 30 years or so, a lot of guns have been called the Saturday Night Special. This one here is the original. I'll get in more to into the history on this gun after I do the specs on it. There's quite a bit of history actually on this gun, and the specs themselves, it's a fairly simple gun. It doesn't take long to go over everything, but let's jump into the specs here real quick. This is 4 3/4 inch long, 1 1/4 inch tall. It's about 7/8 of an inch thick at its widest point, which is going to be at the grip, and it's got a 2 3/8 inch barrel. Now, as the name implies, MP-25, it shoots the 25 ACP. The magazine capacity in this is only 6 rounds. You get a 6-round magazine. The finish on these you can get in one of two ways, either blued or nickel plated. As far as grips, they come with wood grips or plastic grips. It does have the a safety here, little bitty safety. You can hardly get to it. You gotta use your thumbnail to get in there. And it also has the European style mag release on the bottom. This particular one is actually, and I know it's hard to tell from the reflection on it, is actually in excellent condition. The only part of this gun that shows anywhere at all is the trigger, and you can just tell it's had a finger on it quite a bit. And by the way, this is empty. For anybody who's out there who doesn't know that I always empty these before I do reviews on them, it is empty. So that's the only part of this particular gun that has any wear on it at all. Other than the fingerprints I'm putting all over this thing. Without a doubt, this is one of the best examples of these guns I have seen as far as the condition. This one is in excellent condition. As far as anything you can do with it, you know, I usually talk about different accessories and things that you can put on the guns. There's nothing for this. It's a pretty basic gun. There's nothing you can really do to it other than order replacement parts if something breaks. As far as how durable or reliable it is, these guns, even though in general they kind of got a bad reputation, the Raven Arms model of guns were extremely reliable, very durable. I put probably maybe 400 rounds through this, and I have no idea how many rounds have been put through that before I got my hands on it. This gun was actually given to my mother-in-law by my father-in-law back in, I want to say like 79 or 80. And he was a big gun guy, and I'm sure he shot it quite a bit, and along with the fact that she shot it as well. So I know it's had a good number of rounds put through it, and it has never missed a beat. Now to kind of get in on the model history here, just to give you a heads up so you know what I'm talking about, because a lot of times you look at this style of pistol. By the way, look how small this thing is. Okay, this is actually smaller than the Kel-Tec P380s or the Ruger LCP or any of that. Now it actually weighs more because it's all metal, but it's a very, very small gun. Very easy to fit into a pocket or, you know, purse or whatever. Anyway, back to the history on this thing. When you look at this style of gun, you tend to think of some of these cheap pieces of crap that are out there nowadays and have been mass produced over the last, you know, 20-30 years. Raven Arms was started, I believe, back in 1970 by a guy named George Jennings. Now, when I say Jennings, you immediately think of, you know, the Jennings piece of crap. Even though that's the same name, that it was not his company. It was actually his son-in-law and daughter's company that started Jennings. And then they, I believe, went on to start Brico as well, which was eventually bought out by Jimenez. Now, George Jennings came up with this design. This was his pistol. This was the first one. Like I said, came out in 1970. And what it was in response to a federal gun law that had come out in 1968, which basically banned the importation of inexpensive guns. And it was done to kind of, you know, they were hoping to get rid of gun crime in urban areas. And so basically George saw a market because he had been selling, you know, hundreds of these little guns. He had a gun and pawn shop, and all of a sudden he couldn't get them anymore. So he started making his own. So when you look at these guns, it looks like a Brico or a Jennings or, you know, Jimenez or whatever. It's much better made than any of those. Those were basically cheap copies of this design. I mean, that's really the only way to put it. The Raven arms, okay, and you see, I don't know, it's hard to see, it's a little emblem of a raven there, were actually well-made pistols. They were inexpensive, but they were very well made. I kind of compare them to High Point nowadays. High Point are kind of ugly and they're very inexpensive. But overall, when you compare them to all the other Bricos and Jennings and Jimenez and all the other crap that can be found out there, they're pretty damn good guns. I mean, as far as reliability, they when you pull the trigger, they go bang. And that's what these do. Now, in my opinion, this is a hell of a lot better looking than a a High Point. Now I've seen some of the blued versions. They're not quite as pretty as this. Obviously this nickel plated one is a lot better looking, and this one's in like I said, this is in exceptional shape, considering this is probably 20 to 25 years old. Anyway, so overall, Raven arms, good gun. Okay, it's not a Smith & Wesson, it's not a Beretta, but it is not a Jennings or a Brico or a Jimenez. Okay, now one thing to note on these, there is no slide lock on these. They also do not lock back on the last round. They're just a basic, simple gun, something you would use for, you know, to put in your pocket for, you know, walking around protection, something that you might give your wife to put in her purse, or to stick in the glove box in the car, just something as a backup is purely all it is. Now these guns usually can be found anywhere from $75 to $150 depending on the condition. At $150 I would kind of say, don't worry about it. You know, $100, you find one for $100 and it's in decent shape, it's a good deal. I mean, you know, it's 25 ACP. You know, you get a decent round for that. I mean, there's a big debate on what's better, 25 or 22. I'm not going to get into that crap, but you know, it's a decent round. It's a last resort round. You know, it's something you can definitely deter someone trying to do you harm with this gun and with this round. So, you know, for $100, if you can pick one up, if you see one, you can pick it up. I mean, you know, I say go for it. You know, it's a good little gun. I've had a lot of good experience with it. I know a lot of other people who've had a good experience with it. Like I said, though, if you're going to pick one up, make sure you get the Raven, not anything else. The others are copies. They're cheap knockoffs, and they're crap, quite honestly. So anyway, that's going to be it. This is my little review and look back on the original Saturday Night Special. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. I will have some more vids up soon, and good night and good luck.